People often ask me, what is the number one thing that helped you stop binge eating? And you hear me say this over and over and over again. There is not one magical thing that I did that helped me stop binge eating, but rather it was an accumulation of many different things that allowed me to become less impulsive with food, be able to eat without guilt, be able to just eat like a normal person again. And I was thinking about this when people say, like, Lorna, what's the one thing? And there's a few breakthroughs. Hi, everyone coming on. There's a few breakthroughs that I had on my journey that were super pivotal in helping me transition from having binges almost every other day. Like, I kid you not, my binges were almost every single day. How did I go from that to having binge-free weeks, to translating into binge-free months, and then now 4 years completely binge-free? So I want to share a little pivotal moment that I had with you, a breakthrough moment that's going to change everything for you guys in helping you conquer binge eating. So I struggled with binge eating for 10 years of my life. And when you're in the thick of it, like when you are binging and you're consuming thousands of calories and you're home alone, your partner leaves to go to work and you're standing there and you're just consuming thousands of calories, you feel broken. You literally feel like, what is wrong with me? Who else does this? What am I even doing? I am a crazy person. And I remember thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, this is not normal. I am so out of control with food. I am literally eating until I am so physically sick. I'm like, there's something wrong with me. And, at the beginning of my journey, I didn't know it was binge eating. I just knew that it wasn't normal to eat until you're physically sick. It wasn't normal to have constant food thoughts. I was very well aware that it wasn't normal, but I didn't have like a name to it. I didn't know that I was like binge eating per se. And when you're in the thick of binge eating, you just feel broken. I definitely felt broken, and I thought nobody's going to understand me. Nobody's going to take me seriously when I tell them that like I'm completely out of control with food, because at the time, I didn't look like I struggled. I was fit and healthy, and people would look at me and would never think that I was a binge eater. And so I felt like just nobody was going to understand me. I was also going through a lot of bloating issues. And I thought, like, it's harder for me. It's just harder for me. Like, maybe other people don't have to restrict, but me, like, not only am I eating until I'm physically sick, but I'm also constantly bloated. And that's what makes it harder for me to conquer binge eating. That's what makes it harder for me to be able to just eat whatever foods I want, because I actually couldn't. And maybe you guys can relate. I have a lot of clients that struggle with PCOS and IBS or SIBO and other health conditions, and you can't just eat whatever you want. And so I just kept telling myself, like, this is hard. Nobody's going to get me. And I started learning about healing my relationship with food. I was very well aware that I had all these crazy food rules, that I was, dieting since I was 14 years old. Like, I was very well aware that I had these crazy food rules that I needed to release. And I knew I needed to release my food rules. I knew that I needed to not give in to my urges. I started learning a lot. And I kept on telling myself, you're just going to struggle with this for the rest of your life. Like, it is so hard. Like, this is very hard, and you're just going to struggle with this for the rest of your life. Like, that's what I thought in my head. I was like, maybe I'm going to be 80 years old and still be thinking about food. Like, maybe I'm going to be the person that's still weighing and tracking measuring their food at 80 years old. Like, maybe I'm just different. And maybe I'm just going to, maybe I'm just going to continue to binge because it feels so hard. And even when I learned the tools of what to do when I feel the urge to binge, I was like, well, I'm just going to give in. Like, the urge is so powerful over me. Like, I'm just going to give in. It's too hard. Well, I know that I should go to the restaurant and order whatever it is that I want, but like, I'm scared and I can't do that because people know me as like the healthy one. So I can't just like go and eat whatever I want. Like, it's hard. And I kept on telling myself that. And then I reflected and I said, how is this serving you right now? How is telling yourself that it's too hard to not give in to your urges, it's too hard to stop binge eating, you know, your situation is different because you're struggling with bloating issues. Like, how is that serving you? Continuing to tell yourself that this journey is hard and you have to give in to your urges and you're going to struggle with binge eating for the rest of your life. Like, how is that serving you? And I had a conversation with myself and I realized that thought process was keeping me stuck. I had to like pause for a moment and tell myself, Lorna, you continuing to tell yourself that it's hard to overcome binge eating, you continuing to tell yourself that you're going to struggle with binge eating for the rest of your life is literally the thing that's keeping you stuck in these cycles. Because if you believe that something is hard, it's like there's no point of trying. If you believe you're going to struggle with binge eating for the rest of your life, it's like that is going to be a reality. What you believe to be true is going to be the reality. And so I was like, I need to start shifting my thoughts because even the all or nothing mentality, I was the queen. Anyone else can relate with the all or nothing mentality? I kid you not, every time I'd like eat super healthy and then I would have something like bad or off limits, my diet would go to shit. Whatever, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, well, the rest of the day is a complete write-off. I'm just going to eat all the other off-limit foods. And then tomorrow, we're going to get back on track. I'm going to throw all the garbage out in my house, going to go grocery shopping, going to meal prep, going to get my workout in, going to get my lemon water in, and I'm going to get back on track. And I kept telling myself, Lorna, you have the all or nothing mentality. Lorna, you're inconsistent. Lorna, you're a self-sabotager. And I replayed this over and over and over again. Do you know how unhelpful that is? To tell yourself, you're a self-sabotager. Well, you always have the all or nothing mentality. That is not helpful at all. So I recognize this. And even though it feels kind of like safe to hold on to this identity, it's not serving you. Because every single time that I would, eat super healthy, I'd pack my meals for lunch. And then let's say I came home and my mom made like chocolate chip banana bread. I was like, oh God, here's the opportunity. Like I'm just going to mess everything up. I'm going to get into the all or nothing mentality because I was telling myself that I had the all or nothing mentality. I was telling myself that what ends up happening when I eat something bad or off limits, I spiral out of control. I was telling myself what I was going to do before it even happened. So normal people would be able to have a piece of banana bread and they're like, oh, sweet, thanks for baking this for me. They'll be excited, they'll have a piece, and they'll move on with their day. But because I kept on telling myself, I can't just have one piece. Because I kept telling myself that I'm a binge eater, I'm a self-sabotager. You get into the all or nothing mentality because you're messing up and you shouldn't be eating this banana bread and you really should feel guilty and you should feel like a failure. I took it as the opportunity. Okay, well, if I'm a failure, then I'm going to fail the rest of the day and then tomorrow I'm going to do better. And I kept staying stuck in those cycles over and over and over again until I said no more. I said no more. The way that I speak to myself, the way you speak to yourself matters. When you tell yourself you're inconsistent, that's going to be your reality. When you tell yourself, oh, I always struggle with nighttime eating, then come 7 o'clock in the evening, you are going to binge. You are going to spiral out of control because you are literally telling yourself how your evening is going to go. Oh, every single time I go out for dinner, I always clean my plate. So then you go out for dinner and what do? You clean your plate. And so I was like, okay, things need to shift. This is not helping me. I said to myself, it feels really hard, but what if I tell myself that I can do this? What if I actually believe that I could conquer binge eating? What if I actually believe that I could eat some chocolate without getting into the all or nothing mentality? Because what I used to believe obviously has not been serving me. It's literally been keeping me stuck. So I'm like, let me just try this on for size. Like, I'm just gonna try this whole self-belief thing. I'm actually gonna believe that I can get out of binge eating. I'm actually gonna believe that I can get out of the all or nothing mentality. I'm gonna actually believe that I can go out for dinner without ordering the lowest calorie option and then coming home and binging. And I was like I was excited because I was like, something has to change. So I started to try this whole belief thing on, and I'm like, I could do this. I am not different. Like, what if it got to be fun and not easy, but like, what if I had the power to change my thoughts and to change my behaviors around food? And so I started having belief. I started actually believing that like maybe it is possible for me. And things did not happen overnight. I didn't, okay, day one, I'm going to start believing in myself, and then tomorrow I didn't binge. This is where people get things twisted. When you have belief in yourself, it doesn't mean everything is going to go perfectly. If you believe that you can get out of the all or nothing mentality, it does not mean the next time you have a piece of cookie that you're going to say, oh, I'm done with one and I can move on with my day. But it means there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I remember being in my shower one day, and it was the weirdest thing because I was still binging. Even when I was starting to have like self-belief, I was still binging. But I was in the shower and I just got like this download or whatever you want to call it. And I just felt in my heart, in my bones, one day you're going to conquer binge eating and you're going to help other people. Because nobody can understand this struggle more than somebody who's gone through it. And I had this like download or whatever you want to call it. And I was like, that's so weird because like I'm still binging. So like, where is this coming from? But I was like, I'm gonna like, that's there for a reason. I had this thought, I had this feeling in my body that you can conquer. It's there for a reason. And maybe you have gotten little like hits of self-belief. Maybe you're still binging, but there's like a part of you that's like, but I'm meant for more. There's a part of you that is like I just know that I'm not meant to think about food and calories all day. Like you just feel like you know, it's hard to explain because you're like, I'm binging every single day. And a part of me is like, you're just going to struggle with this for the rest of your life. But then there's also a part of you that's like, no, like there is a way out. And I kept on leaning into that and I kept on leaning into that. And my behaviors with food started to shift themselves. So when I said to myself, okay, instead of thinking the urge is here, oh my God, the urge is so powerful over me, I can't give in. I'm going to start telling myself that like, I am resilient. I am stronger over my urges. I am a freaking badass who can not give in to her urges. I kept on telling myself like, it is going to feel challenging. It is going to feel hard, but you got this. Like you can absolutely do this. And I started recognizing that it felt easier for me to not give in to my urges. Hey, Brennan, so good to see you, my membership client. Actually, she's in Conquer now. She's in Conquer. So I started recognizing like it felt a little bit easier for me to not give in to my urges. If I spontaneously went out for lunch one day, I wasn't like in this negative headspace of like, oh, you messed up, because I was trying to change my thoughts. And instead of saying, oh, Lorna, you always have the all or nothing mentality, I started shifting away from this and say, Lorna, you are on your way to finding balance, to having a healthy relationship with food. You are on your way. You can change your relationship with food. You are healing. You are on your way to eating normally again. You were on your way to a better relationship with food. And so when I would go out for lunch, instead of saying I'm the person that has the all or nothing mentality, I went out for lunch and I said, what would somebody who has a healthy relationship with food do? How would they respond to spontaneously going out for lunch on a Tuesday? They would have the lunch and they would go on with their day. So I said, I need to become that version. I can't wait until I'm that version because I'm not there yet. I was still binging. But I said, if I was binge free, if I was somebody who had a healthy relationship with food, I would be somebody who can just go out for lunch on a Tuesday and move on with their day. And so I was like, that's what I need to start doing. I need to start embodying this version of a binge free person right now. Not wait until I'm binge free. I need to start acting like her now. So I was changing my thoughts. I started believing in myself. I started becoming her. I started literally acting as that binge-free version of myself. And then what ended up happening was, this is where it gets good, you guys. I haven't even shared the pivotal moment yet. This is where it gets good. So I started eating foods and having less guilt. I started not giving into my urges. And I started having binge-free days and binge-free weeks. And then what ended up happening was my brain started saying, this isn't who you are. My brain started saying, you have so much more time. What are you going to fill up your time up with? My brain started saying, but what is it going to bring you joy? Binging has given you joy for 10 years of your life. So like, if you're not binging, like, what are you going to turn to at the end of the day? When it's 8 o'clock at night and you don't want to go to bed and you don't want to watch TV, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so I had this feeling, I was like, maybe I don't want to give up binge eating. I started having binge-free days and I started freaking out. I had binge-free days, even binge-free weeks, and I'm like, wait, hold on. Is this actually happening? And I was like, but like, I like binging. So like, maybe I don't want to give it up. Okay, maybe I don't want to do this whole believing in myself thing because it's kind of working. I'm actually believing in myself and I'm changing my thoughts and I'm not giving into my urges, and holy shit, I'm not binging. But then that started to scare me. It started to scare me because I was like, I haven't gone this long without binging in my whole life. And this happens to so many of my clients. They're like, Lorna, like, I haven't binged in a month. Like, wait, when is another binge gonna happen? Lorna, I haven't binged in 2 weeks. Like, this feels so weird. One of my clients was like, what am I gonna fill up my time up with? Like, this feels so weird. And so I thought that maybe for a second I didn't want to give up binge eating. But the truth was that it was just scary. And when you start having binge-free days, it's going to be so exciting. Your binge-free weeks are going to feel so exciting for you, but it's also going to be like, holy guacamole, is this my life? Okay, but like, binging gives me pleasure. So like, what am I going to do if I'm not binging? And this is where I had a conversation that I actually was ready to give up binge eating. But it felt like a piece of me was going to be let go of. because I struggled with binge eating for 10 years of my life. And this is where your mind starts tricking you into believing that you don't actually want to conquer binge eating because it feels wrong. It feels like, no, but this is who I am. I'm a binge eater. So when you start having consistent binge-free weeks, it's like, whoa, this isn't who I am. Are you guys understanding this? Let me know in the chat who's here. If you're here watching, hey, Emily, is this making sense? Give me an emoji down below. How is this landing? I want to know if you're here with me. So I thought like maybe I don't want to give this up. Like I actually like binge eating. And now that I'm not binging, it was like what am I going to do at 8 o'clock at night? And I had this conversation with one of my clients and she was like, it feels so weird. She's like, I don't even have the urge, but it's like, I want to binge because like, that's just what I do. Yes. Dina says, it makes perfect sense. Missy says, love your motivational words. Meredith says, it becomes uncomfortable not to binge, which is strange. Yes. So I had this feeling, I was like, but like, it feels amazing. Like I was very proud of myself that I wasn't binging for weeks on end, but you're right. Like it felt uncomfortable because this is just what I do. And like, yes, binging is such a release. It can feel difficult to not have that. Yes. This makes so much sense. The weird love-hate relationship kind of brings you back in just because it's familiar. Exactly. And so I have a love-hate relationship. I'm like, I'm so freaking ready to end this and I'm ending it. And now it's like, wait a minute, do I actually want this? And I started like kind of psyching myself out. And this is why your mind is so powerful, you guys. Your mind is so powerful. Just by me shifting my beliefs and actually believing that I can do this and changing my thoughts, and instead of saying this is hard, I started saying I can do this. I started having binge-free weeks simply by believing in myself. That's the first part. The second part is this identity piece. I talk about this a lot. I'm going to be talking about this inside of Master Your Mind, my program coming up at the end of the month. And I said, I don't want to be this person. Yes, it feels weird and it feels uncomfortable and I don't know if I want to give it up, but deep down I do. And then I started going back to my why of why I wanted to heal my relationship with food in the first place. I didn't want to be snappy with my husband or my mom. I didn't want to be irritable around them. I didn't want to have to say no when Andrew would be like a little kid on Christmas, like, you want to go out for dinner? And he'd be like so excited to like plan a dinner date with me. And I would have to be like, well, like, no, not really actually, because I would rather just have home cooked meals. I didn't want that. I wanted to just like, my dream sounds so silly. It's like my dream was like waking up on a Sunday morning, having a slow morning with my husband, making us a cup of tea, making us pancakes, and going for a beautiful walk. And then if there's a lunch place and we get hungry, just like go out for lunch. Like, I just wanted like a normal life. And so when I had this love-hate relationship and I was kind of questioning, like, do you really want to end this? Yes. But Lorna, this feels awkward. This feels weird. Feels uncomfortable because like you've never gone so long without binging. I was literally not binging for weeks. And I said, yes, I want this. And I started letting go of this identity piece that I needed to struggle with binge eating for the rest of my life. It's not true. It's not true. And I recognized that I was putting in the work. I was believing in myself. I was not giving in to my urges. I was going to the restaurant and ordering what I wanted to eat. I was reminding myself to not feel guilty. I was putting in the work. So of course I wasn't binging. And that's what I wanted. And so when you start having binge-free days, and your mind starts saying, like, do I actually want this? Like, it feels weird. Or your mind might say, well, another binge is going to happen tomorrow. You need to let go of that mindset. Not having a binge in a week is amazing. But where does your mind go? Oh, I haven't binged all week, but I'm probably going to binge tomorrow. Well, it's been 2 weeks and I haven't binged, but like, that's not who I am. Like, I'm obviously going to have a binge probably next week. Like, I can't go longer than a month. Again, what are you telling yourself? When I told myself I have the all or nothing mentality, when I told myself ending binge eating was hard, it was hard and I was stuck in the all or nothing mentality. When I started saying, I got this, I can do hard things, I'm a freaking badass, I can conquer binge eating. I don't have to be in the all or nothing mentality. When I started reminding myself that what I actually wanted more than anything was to eat normally, to have no more binges, it was so much easier for me to normalize these binge-free weeks. I started normalizing them. Instead of freaking out when I wouldn't binge for a week or two, I started normalizing them. Of course, I started expecting them because I was putting in the work and I was showing up and I was not giving into my urges. So instead of freaking out when that happened, I'm like, of course I haven't binged in 2 weeks. Of course I was home alone and I didn't even want to go into my pantry as soon as my husband left the house. Of course. When you start normalizing these binge-free days, being home alone without binging, you start normalizing trusting yourself around trigger foods, you conquer binge eating because you're expecting good things to happen. Versus, no, this isn't me. Wait, what? I was home alone? No, I always binge when I'm home alone. So as soon as your husband leaves, you will go into the pantry because you're telling yourself that this is what you do. I have one of my clients that I work with in the academy, and she kept on telling herself in her conversations, I always binge at night. So, I can always do well, but then like the evenings are always so hard for me. And I said, we're going to stop saying that. Because you telling yourself that the evenings are hard, come the evenings, it's going to feel challenging. If you tell yourself, I can eat healthy all day, but man, after dinner, that's when I tend to binge, you're going to binge. The words you speak to yourself matter. Your belief in yourself, your belief in your ability to conquer binge eating, your belief in your ability to make peace with trigger foods, to be home alone without binging is everything. You can have all the tools of what to do to stop your binge eating. But if you don't actually master your mind, if you don't actually let go of these identities, if you don't actually believe that you can conquer binge eating, if you don't actually work through this love-hate relationship with binging and food, it's going to feel really hard to sustain binge-free weeks and sustain binge-free months because your mind goes, this isn't who I am. I'm probably going to have a binge next week. And, well, I don't know if I want to give this up. So when I started working through all of those different things, I worked through my love-hate relationship with food and binging. I worked through the identity piece. I let go of this identity that I needed to struggle with my relationship with food. I let go of this identity of I was a binge eater. I let go of this identity of I'm somebody who's inconsistent and I have the all or nothing mentality. And I started believing in myself that I could do this, that I can change my relationship with food. I could actually eat my chocolate chip pancakes, which were a huge sugar food for me. I could eat those without spiraling out of control. This is it, you guys. Everyone wants to know, like, what do I do to stop binge eating? And I teach the strategy in all my programs. Like, all my clients will tell you, like, I give you very strategic things. Like, this is what to do to not give in to your urges. This is what to do to release food guilt. This is what to do so that you can start building up trust around trigger foods. But you know what to do. You know you shouldn't give in to your urges. But where does your mind go? Oh, well, it's too hard. You know you shouldn't give in to the all or nothing mentality, but you have a piece of chocolate and you're like, oh, well, I already messed up, so might as well just keep on eating the whole bar and then tomorrow I'll do better. You know what to do, but then as soon as you have a week without binging, you start freaking out and you start telling yourself, this isn't possible for me. I'm going to binge anyways. You need to master your mind. You need to get out of the all or nothing mentality. You need to start normalizing feeling really good with food. And whenever my clients start freaking out, they're like, Lauren, I haven't binged in like 2 months. Like, what the heck is going on? I remind them, yeah, but you're rewiring your brain. You're taking different action, so of course you're getting a different result. You're willing to do things differently, so of course you haven't binged in 2 months. Of course. Start expecting good things to happen instead of, oh, well, have binged in a week, so I'm probably going to binge tomorrow. Expect good things to happen. So when you get out of the all or nothing mentality, when you actually start believing in yourself, believing in your ability to conquer binge eating, believing in your ability to heal your relationship with food, when you actually heal this love-hate relationship with food, you are going to normalize binge-free weeks, binge-free months, binge-free years. This is exactly why I stopped my binge eating and I'm 4 years binge-free, because I worked through all of that. I normalized not binging for months. I stopped telling myself that I was somebody who was inconsistent. I stopped telling myself that every time I try something, it doesn't work. If you keep telling yourself that, you're gonna stay stuck. And I see this with all my clients, the people who believe in themselves, the people who are willing to change their thoughts, the people who are willing to believe that it's possible for them and to trust the process, they conquer binge eating. And I know that that's you, because deep down, you know in your heart that you were meant for freedom. You know deep down, even if your reality is binging maybe every other day, you know deep down that I'm meant for freedom. You know deep down that you were meant to live an incredible life with your partner, with your career, with your family. You know that you're meant to live an amazing life without these struggles with food. And the moment you can continue leaning into that and remind yourself that you are worthy of this, that you absolutely can conquer binge eating, is when you're going to actually conquer binge eating. So, your mindset is everything. Mastering your mind is the key. You don't need another strategy of what to do. You know what to do. This is so very helpful, amazing. So, if you guys found this helpful, I'm so glad. I'm going to be talking about this inside of my upcoming program, Master Your Mind for a Binge-Free Life. The reason I created this program was because of my journey. I had days where I wasn't binging, and then I would always sabotage because I had the all or nothing mentality. I would always have, okay, maybe not, I haven't binged for a week, and then I would always binge because I didn't believe that it was possible for me, because I was still holding on to this identity of I'm a binge eater. And the moment that I started working on my mindset and actually believing in myself, letting go of these identities, was actually the moment that I sustained binge-free months and years. Now we're going on 4 years binge-free. So if you can resonate with, I eat healthy, and then as soon as I eat something bad or off limits, I spiral into a binge, and you have the all or nothing mentality, this program would be perfect for you. If you know that you're just kind of having like random binge-free days and you're ready to sustain and normalize binge-free weeks and binge-free months, like you don't want to just have like these random binges. You actually want to believe in yourself that you can conquer binge eating. You actually want to believe in your ability to end binge eating for good. You want to actually wake up every single day so excited that this could be your reality, that you can have a healthy relationship with food. And the moment you get out of the all or nothing mentality, you're going to save yourself thousands of calories, because you can have a piece of chocolate and literally feel so satisfied, feel so content, move on with your day, and not consume thousands of calories later on at night. You're gonna feel way better in your own skin. You're not gonna feel bloated and lethargic all day because you're not eating until you're physically sick. And you're going to be able to actually be consistent. What you guys want more than anything is consistency. You're done with the yo-yo dieting. You're done with, I do well with my diet for a few days and then I sabotage. If you want to break free from self-sabotage, you want to get out of the all or nothing mentality, and you want to be so confident and certain that you can absolutely conquer binge eating, this is exactly what my program is about. Master your mind for a binge-free life. So it is on early bird pricing until tomorrow. So if you are interested in this, you're like, yes, like I know all the tools of what to do, but I keep on sabotaging. I keep reverting back to old habits. I'll have a few days of not binging and then I'll always spiral into a binge. I can eat super healthy. And then as soon as I go out for dinner or I eat something that I wasn't planning on eating, I just say screw it and end up binging the rest of the day. You need to be inside of this program. So it's on early bird pricing until tomorrow. You can just message me, Master Your Mind, and I will send you all the details. This program is going to transform your relationship with food. Your mindset is everything. Whether you believe you can conquer binge eating, whether you don't, that's going to be your reality. If you continue having the all or nothing mentality, if you continue trying to be so perfect with your food, that's when you're going to spiral into the all or nothing mentality. If you're ready to be done with that, this program is for you. So just message me. And if there's any questions, you can drop some in the chat. I can stay on for a few more minutes if there's any questions on this, but this will change everything for you. This will change everything for you. And I'm just like so excited because that was my pivotal moment. And I see this with all my clients, especially the clients that I work with inside of my academy where we're talking every single day. I see it. They stop their binge eating. They stop their binge eating because of the tools that I teach them. But then their mind is like, wait, when's the next binge? Or like, it felt so weird because like I was home alone and I didn't feel the urge. Like it feels so weird. And we have to start normalizing this. You have to start normalizing this and saying that this is your new reality. Of course it is. Of course it is, because you're a freaking badass. You're putting in the work. You're showing up for yourself. Of course you're not having any more urges. Of course you're home alone without going into the pantry. Of course you're at work and your coworkers bring in food and you just eat it and you move on with your day without coming home and binging because you messed up. Of course, that's who you are. You are becoming somebody who no longer identifies as a binge eater. You are, oh, hey Liv. She just said, Lorna, I'm new. How did you achieve your recovery? This whole live. I literally just shared my journey on this live. You're going to have to watch this back. I think on episode 1 of the podcast, I think I share a little bit of my journey, but this is it, you guys. Like the first episode of my podcast was like 3 years ago. This is it. The mindset. It's everything. I started believing that I can do this. I started believing that I could conquer binge eating. I started like when you believe in yourself, you show up and you take action. You actually don't give in to your urges. Right? When you don't believe in yourself, it's like, oh, this is too hard. I'm just going to give in one more time. So having self-belief, getting the right support, being part of a community, all of that is so important. And of course, that's what I do inside of my programs. So are there any other questions? Liv, just rewatch this video. I think you're going to find so much value out of it. And I'm so excited you're new here. Welcome. This is so exciting. Do we have any other questions before I pop off? Again, the Master Your Mind for a Binge-Free Life, the early bird pricing expires tomorrow. So if you are interested in that program, you are ready to become the version of yourself who no longer identifies as a binge eater. You're ready to be consistent with your food long-term. You're ready to end binge eating for good. You can message me, Master Your Mind, and I'll send you all the details. The price is going up tomorrow. All right, you guys, thank you for being here. I'm just so excited because I know firsthand the things that I needed to shift. And as soon as I made those shifts, like that's what started, that's what actually was a catalyst to me having these binge-free weeks and these binge-free months. So I'm excited to share all this information with you guys, help you shift your beliefs, help you believe that you are the person who's going to conquer binge eating. So thank you guys so much for being here. Remember, you're a freaking badass. You can do hard things like conquer binge eating, and I can't wait to see you again soon. All right, you guys, have a good day. Bye.